This is Rebecca Lowe, or Rebecca Lua, if you listen to Suboptimal Radio, and you are listening to Men in Blazers on the NBC Sports Network.
It's unbelievable!
From the Embassy Row studios in the crap part of Soho, and from the crap part of West Hollywood, Rog, it's the Men in Blazers podcast.
Oh, on a dark day, Dave, and for both of us, and we want to say up top to all GFOPs and their families in Texas and Louisiana, it's been with shock, horror, really just abject helplessness that we've watched you suffer beyond belief this week. You're in our hearts as we pod today. We wish all Houstonians strength, mental, physical fortitude in that long, long haul that there is ahead for you. Love and courage, right, David?
We encourage all GFOPs to step up, support the Hurricane Harvey Relief Fund. It's administered by the Greater Houston Community Foundation. Many great funds out there. That's one of them. Just outpourings. This is when I quite enjoy social media, Rog.
Yeah,
it just is really working.
My Twitter feed, David, it's funny you mention that, is just like half full of just the most horrific suffering in the Houston area and just the misery, abject misery of Liverpool fans suffering through the Coutinho transfer saga. I mean, great. All I can say is
perspective. He did, perhaps.
Yes.
All I can say.
I was going to say it does put the suffering that we think we experience week in, week out, completely into perspective, into context. Right, Arsenal fans. Though I will say after El Blazerico this week, I am braced to essentially just be patted on my bald head by you for the next hour. But we'll get to that. We have survived a couple of feats this week, Davo. First, a week with your dad. How was Trev?
Yeah, I should say at the top of this, because just in case my dad or any member of my family listens to this, today would have been my mum's 90th birthday.
Oh.
So my dad, lost my mum last year, 60 years of marriage, and lost her last year. It's been, I would say, a challenging year for my father ever since. He came to stay for... it felt like 3.5 months. It was actually 8 days.
Whenever I asked you how long you were staying for, you just kept shaking your head and saying, too long.
It was a long time. It ended up feeling like a long time between New York City and the Hamptons. With my entire family, the California-based Davos, the New York-based Davos, the UK-based Davos. It was about 18 members of my family, plus girlfriends of my nephews as well. It was a lot. The Austin-based Davo as well. Like, everybody was there. But it was amazing. I mean, you and I have discussed this a lot, is watching our fathers and comparing and contrasting the way they treated us when we were children to the way they treat my children. My little children, my innocent, lovely little children, adore my father, partly because they don't take seriously all the awful things he says to them. They just think that that's English grandpa's amazing sense of humor. So when he fails to remember my daughter Ingrid's name for the 11th year in a row, she just thinks he's being funny and joking when he calls her Greta. Repeatedly.
I'm leaving this afternoon to head back to Liverpool to celebrate my dad, Judge Ivor, and his 80th birthday. And I'll say, I feel when I think about this weekend, a sense of joy and a sense of fear that I think anyone who has an 80-year-old dad will relate to. The older he gets, the more touchy he gets. We've talked about this, Davo. Essentially, he internalizes, I would say, 7 out of 8 conversations that you have with him. They're about completely mundane things. He only hears them as you telling him that he's been completely outrun by modernity and technology and is now redundant. So for me, avoiding a fight is goal 1, 2, and 3 of the next couple of days. Celebrating, making great memories is goal 4. And then avoiding a fight is goal 5 and 6 again, Dave. And I'll tell you now, I love you, Dad. I love you, Judge Ivor. But it's tough, isn't it?
It's not avoiding a fight. Good luck with that, Rod. I didn't manage that.
I do wish you a long life on the birthday of your mother. Even greater things, though, Dave, than our fathers. You and I survived 24 hours in Vegas together, Dave. I returned home with my virginity just about intact.
I wasn't even there for 24 hours, Rog, but it was a close call for me. I only arrived there, I think, at something like 8 p.m. on Monday night,
Yeah.
and I was gone by 10 a.m. on Tuesday. So that was a very, very short trip, but we survived it, Rog. I wouldn't say it's really, there are places that I've seen you that you're in your element. I don't really see you completely in your element in Las Vegas.
Well, we should say we were there to present the new FIFA 18 game to GameStop employees, about 6,000 of them from across the land. And I want to say, GameStop employees, what a remarkable community of people you are. But God, what an incredible contrast to the Mayweather-McGregor fight crowd which preceded you. I mean, the Vegas prostitutes must have been very, very, very confused. That's all I will say. But rarely have we been together, Davo, in a city that you love more. And I do find it utterly terrifying.
I enjoy myself. I've never been to Las Vegas and not enjoyed myself.
Vegas, Davo. It's a sight to behold, full-on Ocean's 11 Pesco. You're in your thrall. For me, it's a natural habitat for you that I didn't even know existed. You wanted us to end our night by getting matching English beef tattoos across our tummies. You were very disappointed when it didn't all go down.
Well, it's a bit like going to a strip bar, Roger. There are certain places that you go in life, weddings of family members you don't particularly like, Las Vegas, strip bars. There are probably other places as well. Maybe prison is like this, Rog, that you have to inhabit a character. You can't go as yourself because it will tear you apart. You have to just go in character. You've got to accept that you're in some grand play and you're in character, and that's the way you survive the evening.
See, I just find Vegas too sensorily overloading. It's too much. There's just too many extremes of human joy and human misery there. And as I walk around and everything's synapsing, my brain aches.
How is that different to anything else that you experience?
Free drinks.
That's pretty much it.
But we used to stroll down Copacabana Beach together during the World Cup when there was just Chilean fans who'd slept there, Argentinian fans there. It was just overcrowded craziness. And you would just look at me and all the people on the beach and you'd laugh and you'd just shake your head and you'd say, oh, the humanity. That's how I feel when I think half the world is wired to love it. Half the world is naturally wired to detest it, all of which brings me to this GFOP Raven, which we're actually going to break format and read up top because I love it. And this is our Guinness Poet Philosopher Raven of the Week from the great GFOP Chris Minor, Davo.
Yeah, in Phoenix. He writes, the definition of a midlife crisis is imagining you will live the life of Davo, spending your days doing deals and playing golf in the Hamptons, but realizing that you actually live the life of Roger, spending your days just listening to the daily podcast and refreshing Maggie Haberman's Twitter feed. Yeah.
Oh, the humanity.
All I would just say is that sometimes the life of Davo might not be all that it seems. Roger, I know you know that.
That's nonsense.
To some extent, the life of Davo is magical and wonderful, but it's not all of it is. That's what life is. It can't all be simple.
Davo, don't shatter all of my aspirations. I do want to say, Chris in Phoenix, I realised in my early teens when I started going out to pubs and clubs in Liverpool, the Guinness early years essentially, when I was about 13, 14, I realised there's two types of men in the world. You've got your pub guys and your club guys. And there's pub guys who I think they're most comfortable in smaller groups, like in conversation, intimacy, predictability. Happiness is just a great jukebox. And there's club guys who are never happier than when they're raging amidst the chaos and adrenaline-filled excitement of a frat party kind of situation where anything can and will happen. Night out with Diego Costa, no right or wrong, no judgments about any of this. All of this is to say, I think I'm probably a pub guy. You're probably more of a club guy, Davo.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And I think the secret to life is knowing which category you fit into, following that path with unbridled passion.
Can I not be both? Because I quite like it down the pub too. I love just being with my mates down the pub. Night out with Diego Costa, if you're offering.
You're there. Because to me,
so there.
The only moment of happiness I had, this is true, other than I had a lovely night with the people we were with, and we went to the Circus Steakhouse that was a surprising hidden jewel box, which I adored. But I had a fitful night of sleep, Davo, and in my dreams, I had a vision of a stunning Gylfi Sigurdsson free kick over the wall, top corner against Manchester United. And then I just woke up in a cold sweat and realised with true depression it was all a dream. That was my properly happy point. But we're back. We've got a lot to get through. Talking about the secret of life. Secret to life is obviously just avoiding our crap. So as a public service, heads up to what we're releasing over the next 2 weeks so you can avoid it. Here it is. MIB live show is back.
Yeah, our TV show, Rog.
On NBCSN, September the 11th, 5:30 Eastern Time, live after West Ham capitulate against mighty Huddersfield. We're off next week for the international break. We've got a Dom Dwyer pod special. Lovely human being, Dom Dwyer, taped live in Davo's town, Jamlando, which drops Thursday, August 31st. MLS doesn't stop for international breaks, neither do MIB. MLS pod special, says producer J Dubs. And I'm taping a pod special with my hero, David Simon, talking about his remarkable career journey, his creative impulse, and his new series on HBO, The Juice. So watch for that, dropping September the 8th. To the football, David.
Yeah, to the football, Rog. We've got a packed show. We're going to provide a level-headed, tactics-heavy, not at all emotional breakdown of Chelsea's El Blazerico win over Everton. By the way, it will be very different than had it been the other way round, Rog. We put on our medical examiner's gear to autopsy Arsenal after their 4-0 drubbing, and that might be kind, Rog, at the hands of Liverpool. And we continue to marvel at how Jose got his groove back after another impressive Man United win. Plus, we ask, in what for world we live, as surreal transfer rumours fly thick and fast, with the window just more than 24 hours from slamming shut.
To the football, as I open my can of Guinness, David, I'll just say 3 weeks in, this looks to be a season of light and darkness. For many fans right now, the surging joy as we all appear headed towards a title battle for the ages, one of rippled muscle, tactical finesse, and team culture. United, City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Huddersfield Town all look as advertised. But for others, there's already an impending sense of choking doom, Davo. North London, overwhelmed by existential crisis. And two of our manager friends already, Slavan Bilic and Frankie de Boer, already on the bubble. So I raise this Guinness to football, to lightness, to darkness.
Good. I just wanted to check whether or not we were completely overreacting to 3 games into the Premier League season, just as we overreacted to 1 game into the season. It's clear we are, and I'm all in, Rod. Chelsea 2, Everton 0. The panic room's answer to Mayweather versus McGregor, El Blazerico. A reinvigorated Chelsea, Rod. Flick aside the frankly lackluster challenge of your Rog behind first-half goals from Cesc Fabregas and Alvaro Morata. The win is Chelsea's 2nd in a row. It further steadies the ship at Stamford Bridge after the opening day hiccup against Burnley, all while providing you some footballing lunesta, Rog, for your afternoon sad nap. Rog, take it away.
Well, I just want to thank @SmilingLion71, who tweeted before kickoff a new name for El Blazerico. He called it the Bull Bowl, which I love. But I want to take you back first, before kickoff, Davey, and re-summon those emotions you felt. Because to me, I'll be honest, I had a sense of excitement. I thought this would be a true measuring stick for New Everton in a way that felt season-defining. You know, in terms of defining the true sense of expectation that I should have for this New Everton team. We'd had a dislocated opening day win against Stoke. We'd had a draw against Manchester City, which had given me pleasure, but some of the sheen had been taken off it by Bournemouth's nearly draw with Manchester City over the weekend. Chelsea had had a loss and a terrific win. So what was your emotional bearing before the game?
You know, I thought that Everton were pretty strong coming in. I thought this was a time that I didn't want to play Everton. Yes, I thought Chelsea had bounced back. It wasn't so much how they played against Burnley. It was just the nature of the loss and how they responded to the red card. It was just like, it all felt like Swansea 2 years ago under Jose Mourinho, like all over again. And then I thought the bounce back win against Tottenham was very impressive. I felt Everton were like really pretty strong coming in. I felt like Everton were going to come and give them a game. And I felt that if Chelsea were going to win it, Chelsea were going to have to like dig deep, Rog, and go and find every single thing in their moral character, in their strength to try and overcome the Toffees.
Yeah.
It didn't really turn out like that.
God, did it ever not turn out like that? I mean, it turned into a complete hello darkness, my old friend, no contest. I was not expecting that as one of the options for the weekend, Davo. I mean, it was just one side of the game you'll see in the Premier League this season. True eyesore from an Everton perspective. Best Monday morning quarterback by GFOP @PippinTeasy, who tweeted, El Blazerico had one squad starting 7 English players, the other 5 Spanish players. You tell me which team is going to win that.
Yeah, well, look, Everton have been quite good with their English players, and they've got very good English players. You've seen teams like Tottenham field a lot of English players and do very, very well with them. I think this was more a battle between speed and strength and an Everton team who, for whatever reason, and I know there are a number of excuses that can be laid out, playing in midweek, still I think some focus issues for them as they look to compete through the transfer window. But they just never looked like they believed that they could beat Chelsea. And Chelsea
so
were
true. So true. I mean, you can part explain the no-show. It was a no-show. This was the third game of the week for Everton. City on Monday. Europa League Hajduk split on Thursday. Chelsea Sunday. That is a damaging run of games. That is a energy-sapping, a mentally challenging set of games, which made playing the counter-attack tough with heavy legs. But that alone is not an excuse, Dave. You cannot use it as an excuse for how badly Everton played tactically, with Cess buzzing, bludgeoning, a glacial midfield, Wayne Rooney, Sigurdsson. I mean, we seem to be just bludgeoned backwards. Chelsea's muscular creativity, so overwhelming. In a game that was pretty much summed up by the tactical hair battle ongoing, a cold war between Rooney's thatchy stubble and Marco Alonso's beautiful, perfect copper hair. Again, game over on that one. And it was Cess King Rat who dropped the boom, Dave. A fantastic finish.
Fabregas, doing what he didn't do early in his career, like get into the box at Chelsea, certainly getting into the box the whole time, running on to a Morata. Let's be generous to him and say he completely intended to carom that ball off the Everton defender. And it lands at the feet of Cesc. And really quite an impressive finish.
Yeah, it was a lamps finish in the tightest of spaces. Matt P. Brock tweeted that his wife gleefully yelled upstairs after that first goal, "Babe, Fiberglass just scored!" Oh, your wife is a poet. I immediately just started to pray Everton could keep it to 1 before half-time, but it was not to be. Morata's intelligent positioning doubled the lead, really numbed the game. He's beer commercial hot, that man, right, David?
Yeah, and a great ball from Dave. Just the creativity of, central defender putting the ball into him right on the head. Great movement from Morata. Morata looks, perhaps not the flashiest buy in the off-season. A lot more ink certainly going to your man, Lukaku, Rog. But Morata with a great finish. This is one that he missed at Wembley. He nodded it right into the back of the net this time.
I've buried Lukaku, Dave. He's not my man anymore. But no response, no pulse, slovenly dregs for Everton, who really played this game. The only thing I could think of when I watched that second half, those guys at a bar urinal and it's about 11 o'clock and they're so drunk, you walk in and they're already there at the urinal, but it takes them about 2 minutes to actually begin to perform. They just kind of stand there, sway slowly backwards and forwards. You start your business after them. You finish way before them. And as you walk out the bathroom, they're still there, swaying with their pint disgustingly sat on the top of the urinal. That always really disgusts me, a pint on top of the urinal. Those people. That was Everton Football Club in this game.
Yeah, at the end of the game, though, they threw on Calvert-Lewin. He ran around. He looked pretty good. And, this is the amazing thing about Premier League football. You keep it to within 2. Chelsea had so many chances to, put it to 3, to 4, to 5. Didn't take them. And Everton did have a few chances towards the end. Chelsea are going to have to close out games against opponents as strong as Everton. Much better than that, Rog, if they're going to end up truly contending with the Manchesters for the Premier League title.
Yeah, I mean, Ronald Koeman's efforts to insert his super sub, Michy Batshuayi, even that did nothing to give Everton a spark in front of goal. 0 shots on target over the 90 minutes. And I realised the only way we could have kept this game close was if we'd already sold you Ross Barkley to play in the heart of your midfield. But
it's the darkness speaking, Rog. You've got to take something from the game.
I did take something from the game. I took Johnny Cash hurt levels of happiness. But Chelsea didn't have to get out of third gear in this one. And I'll say, your crisis, Davo, it seems like it was months ago, or more accurately, the football world's overreaction to Chelsea's crisis, now downgraded retrospectively to a wake-up call. You're feeling pretty good.
I'm feeling quite good about the team. I mean, I think, look, after week 1 and Man United, and suddenly, oh my God, Chelsea have given away their best player, Nemanja Matic, to which most Chelsea fans thought, what, Matic? He wasn't our best player. He wasn't even our top 7 best players last season. Chelsea have so many good players across the park, so much Premier League experience, so many wily pros.
Yeah, I mean, to button Chelsea, I said they look bloody good, and you've still got Eden Hazard and new transfers still to come, including, I believe, Fernando Llorente and possibly Danny Drinky. But I'm trying to do what you would do, Dave, in terms of taking something positive from this loss, because I did spend the rest of the weekend listening to Tracy Chapman's debut album and reading Anthem for Doom Youth by the greatest First World War soldier poet Wilfred Owen. We saw in this game what Everton lack, which is pace, a presence who can hold up the ball at the top. I mean, to be kind to Sandro, who struggled, let's just say for now he needs time to adjust. And I'm ever more convinced that you are the Premier League writer as rumours continue to float of Diego Costa loan to Everton, Davey. I believe you're just trolling me at this point with the 2017-18 season storylines. Ronald Koeman had said pre-game that Diego Costa would be welcome at Everton. And I just want to say, I'd bloody well sign Pol Pot. I'd sign Joran Greyjoy or even Hope Solo on a season-long loan if it led to a top 4 finish.
Yeah, I think Diego Costa would be very good at Everton, Rod. It will cause you some issues. It'll suddenly be Diego Costa on the back of a unicorn. We're going to have to pull out. We can add that to the list of highlights we're pulling of everything you ever said about Wayne Rooney when he played for United. We'll have to pull all the Diego Costa stuff. But I think he'd be an amazing Everton player.
Look, I was in Chicago when Dennis Rodman signed for the Bulls, and everybody in that city did a complete 180 on their opinion of what kind of a moral human being he was from before he arrived. And I'm not proud, and that's what the beauty of sports is. I will also say, in terms of the Blazerico, David, of Everton going to Stamford Bridge to play Chelsea, 23 league visits now without a win. November 1994, the last time we took multiple points from Stamford Bridge. I looked it up. I'll Make Love to You by Boyz II Men was number 1. So I just want to be a man and look you in the eye from across this great country to Los Angeles, Davo, and take a leaf out of the Pedro Martinez playbook and say, they beat me. They're that good right now. They're that hot. I just tip my hat and I call Chelsea my daddy.
Oh, that's so nice. Oh my God, we got to clip that off, JW. Let's play it. Let's play that a lot.
I just puked a little bit in my mouth.
Liverpool 4, Arsenal 0. When the Arsenolithic period finally ends in North London, Rog, many will point to this result as the meteor that obliterated it. A swashbuckling Liverpool hang 4 on a listless, disinterested, devoid of cohesion Arsenal at Anfield. Yes, tune out now. Fast forward now, Arsenal fans. Goals from Bobby Firmino, Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah, and a no-dance celebration header from substitute Daniel Sturridge. What is that about? Stoke the fires of revolution surrounding Arsene Wenger's 21-year tenure and allow Jurgen Klopp's goalkeeper choice in this game to fly relatively under the radar.
So true, David, because rarely is a pre-game storyline the odd yet sensational return of the Knight of the Flowers, Loris Karius, 211 days away from being the starter. I mean, that could not have been less a factor on the game, because just when I thought Everton had phoned in one of the most feckless Premier League performances of the season, Arsene Wenger just bellowed, hold my beer, or hold my red wine, which is probably what hold my absinthe. His team just unfurled one of the most spineless, tactically incoherent, Lacazette-less performances I've ever seen in a Big Six clash. At William S. Wright tweeted us and said, sometimes I wonder if Arsene Wenger's just trying to win games or generate clicks for Arsenal Fan TV.
Yeah, he couldn't even say in the post-match conference that they deserved a draw. Couldn't even say that in a straight face. Couldn't really complain about the refereeing decisions in this one. He just had to say there will be questions that have to be answered. We have to ask the questions and then we will have to answer them. And that is how we will analyze the game. That was basically the totality of his post-match.
And it was even more astonishing because we forget before this game, it felt like this was a clash of Arsenal's attack, a stoppable force, Liverpool's defence, a movable object. It really was a battle between two sides tentatively trying to take advantage of their undebatable strengths while minimising their glaring weaknesses. It was like watching two self-conscious, great-looking men who both have terrible comb-overs have a slap fight at the outset. And it was all about who would make that first mistake. And the answer to that question, as always, was Xhaka, who coughed the ball up. And Liverpool pounced. Firmino's blinding mix of teeth and tattoos camouflaged his run into the gut of Arsenal's backline. 1-0, Davey. 4 in 5 for him against Wenger's team.
And what was so impressive, I watched Liverpool's midweek game in Europe, Rog, their Champions League qualifier. And, they mask their, as you said, their movable defence by just defending so deep by that gegenpress, that incredibly energetic press. The Germans couldn't deal with it midweek, and Arsenal couldn't deal with it at the weekend, Rog.
Not-
So impressive to
Not
watch
only
them play.
could they not deal with it, I mean, we never found out just how dodgy Karius 2.0 was in goal. I mean, we never found out how laceratable that Liverpool defence is because they faced 0 shots over the course of 90 minutes, like Everton. I mean, that is just astonishing from an Arsenal side with this much firepower. And I was just scratching my head watching this listless, lacklustre outlay by Arsenal. And you know that woman, Amy Siskind, the remarkable activist who's keeping a weekly list of things that are subtly changing around us in the democratic system in an effort to remember and protect, in her words, against creeping authoritarianism. I just watched this and I thought, bloody hell, Arsenal fans, you should have kept a similar list over the past 5 years to monitor the team's just gradual fall, which we really witnessed without really knowing it, from a national powerhouse to a mediocre mid-table Europa League, dare I say NBC Gold, also ran. They really are in danger of becoming second tier right now, David. They were so dire. They were outclassed tactically, cohesively, mentally. I mean, it just seems like their locker room culture right now is rotting away.
You know, I'm reminded of that thing that Major Garrett said to us, Rog, down in Washington at the British Embassy in that show, when he said that the important thing for him to do as a White House correspondent is to try to separate the interesting from the important. That there's so much stuff that's interesting to write about, especially around the president, the things he tweets, the things he says, things that are going on, the sort of the big headline stuff. But meanwhile, over at all of the various departments, at agriculture, at Homeland Security, at education, there are incredibly important things going on, which, you know, you just have to keep your eye on. And I think at Arsenal, the big thing that I sort of reflected on after watching this game is that Arsenal are devoid of playing style. And this is the first time, you know, they've played exciting football. That's almost been their style. They've played creative attacking football, but I'm not sure that that's really a playing style. It's hard for me to identify now watching Arsenal, and even frankly over the last couple of seasons, what is the way that Arsenal are trying to play football? With Liverpool, you've got a really strong sense.
Yeah.
With Chelsea, you've got a really strong sense. Even at United, you're starting to get an emerging sense, having watched Mourinho teams over times play football, of how they're trying to do a modified version of the Mourinho system. I just don't even know how Arsenal are trying to play football right now.
Yeah, I mean, that Liverpool's third for Mo Salah, Egyptian Jason Mandzukic, came off an Arsenal corner. I mean, he ran 3 on goal, completely unmolested, for 65 yards. At that point, I realised my whole weekend was essentially watching Floyd Mayweather / Chelsea / Liverpool comprehensively dismantle and overwhelm McGregor / Everton / Arsenal. At least McGregor could say he was going into a ring in a sport he'd never played before. Arsenal had no such excuse. I mean, I was trying to think, would it have been more embarrassing for Arsene Wenger if Jurgen Klopp, live on television, had just reached into his pants and given him an atomic wedgie live before the world? I think the wedgie would have been less embarrassing.
Certainly. And remember, this is Arsenal playing against a top 6 opponent, a competitor, one assumes, for a top 4 finish, for a 4th place trophy, Rog. Similar to, you know, Everton. My question about Everton is like, what is their ambition when they go to Stamford Bridge and don't put out a performance to really go and be a top 6 team? This isn't Arsenal playing against like somebody who doesn't matter or somebody they're expected to lose to. This is a team that they have to beat and compete with in order to reach their season-end goals.
Yeah, I mean, their away record against Premier League top 6 rivals, Arsenal's, over the past 5 seasons: 3 wins, 7 draws, 16 defeats. This performance, I tweeted, if Arsenal were managed by the world's greatest Tottenham Hotspur fan, they could not play worse than this, Davo. Is it too early to write off their top 4 chances? 3 games.
Well, I think the thing that we've seen Arsenal do again and again is bounce back from losses like this and then win a couple of games in impressive fashion. And everybody, or certainly Arsenal fans, immediately managed to sort of sweep under the rug everything that happened before. But these are signs of trouble. These are signs of distress. I'm hearing even some of my mates who are the most pro Arsene guys start to say, "Oh, it's time. It's time for."
How is it going to happen? Because it's getting to feel like the only way Arsene Wenger is going to leave Arsenal is kind of Julius Caesar style, in being stabbed by assistant coach Steve Bull and Gunnosaurus in the marketplace of Rome. I don't trust Gunnosaurus. I believe the biggest danger to Arsenal right now is just that overwhelming feeling of powerlessness that you're hinting at, that's sweeping over and immobilising the fan base. So, Stan Kroenke, I know you listen to this pod. Number one, you own Arsenal Football Club. It's not clear you actually do know you own that as a far-flung asset. Number two, please watch the movie Old Yeller, especially the end, when little Travis realised that he's got to kill the venerable dog that he loves. He had to kill Old Yeller. He became a man in the process of killing Old Yeller. You'll get young Yeller, like at the end of that movie. You want to own young Yeller, don't you, Stan?
Just why is Arsene putting himself through this? That's what I don't understand. Just on a human level, I just don't understand why he's putting himself through this.
It's all he knows. It's all he knows. Anybody who has a parent who is a workaholic who refuses to retire, it's a sense of identity. It's a fear of identity loss. It's all he knows. And the things he doesn't know now are overwhelming the things that he does. And you see that when you see him tactically outperformed by Jurgen Klopp in such a fascinating, ebullient way. I say Liverpool, joyful, stunning, as they were last season against big-name opposition. Clean sheet at the back, 7 points out of their opening 9. Economic boom of Champions League qualification assured. Best midfielder in the Bundesliga right now, Naby Keita, joining next summer in a club record transfer, possibly the Ox. And by the way, I'll go on record saying Liverpool should take the money. Get overvalue of Coutinho right now. I know emotionally it hurts the fans who see him as a symbol of the club's intent, but my God, the reinvestment of the money that you'll be able to use to put your squad over the top is rationally fascinating. It is a football team that seem to be energised by their own work rate, and I think the challenge for this Liverpool team is to keep up that level of frenetic furor all season long, particularly against the bottom half of the table teams. They face Manchester City September 9th in what's going to be a fascinating clash. How will that back line, how will that goalkeeping septic wound hold up to the attack of, a properly good side? Not you, Arsenal. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, there are so many big games early in the season. Talking of Manchester City, Rog, Bournemouth 1, Man City 2, after an absolute stonker from Charlie Daniels and a tidy team goal from Gabriel Jesus. The spotlight turned on one man and 3 letters, R-A-Z, Raz, in what may be the most peak Raz moment of all time. The pocket battleship scored a 94th minute deflected winner, only to be promptly sent off by Best Supporting Actor Mike Dean, who deemed that Raz went into the crowd to celebrate. City picked the points from a disciplined Bournemouth and make it 7 out of 9 on the season.
Oh, Cherries fans, football, like life, it's just not fair. I think this Bournemouth team are going to feel savage by the outcome of this game. They were robbed of a richly deserved point. Eddie Howe's team has struggled this season, but they kicked off with positive, pressing, hustling football, opened the scoring while the game was still settling down. Oh my God, David. Charlie Daniels, smoking left foot. It was like he hit that off the half volley like Aaron Judge. I thought of you when the ball went in because it was aesthetically so pleasing. It went in right off the post, top corner. You love that.
Oh, I love it. You should get an extra goal for that.
Undoubtedly the greatest moment of Charlie Daniels' life, at least since the Devil went down to Georgia. Q Manic solo fiddling. First time Bournemouth has scored this season. First time they've ever scored at home against City. I just imagine big carts in the stands just making out unashamedly with little carts. Must have been lovely.
Yeah. Rog.
Huge test of City's fibre, and they responded through Gabriel Jesus, Scrappy Doo, who'd fended off Scooby-Doo, Kun Aguero as City's arrowhead. For the rest of the game now, I've got to say this. I found it so boring watching Manchester City. I know J-Dubs lives and loves and is filled with wonder by their play, but to me, they got so many talents, so much money, always adding, always gelling. They're plasticky. It's like they're like a Guy Fieri restaurant, or they have the beauty of like a Kardashian who's always having work done. And instead of breast enlargement, this City team have had Monaco augmentation. They've got so much money, David. They can be like, oh, David Silva's lost his hair. Let's get Bernardo Silva so we have a Silva with hair.
Yeah, those are the kind of decisions. One of my mates texted me during the game and just said, if this is the future of football, I'm not interested. That might have been a slight overreaction, but I do understand his point that it's just this might be the future of football, with these massive people putting together teams, just amazing, exotic. It's like I've got the rarest giraffe in the world, and I've got a salamander that's going extinct, and I've got a horse that is bred from the result of like 15 horses that have never been bred with each other before. It's like everything is so exotic about this team, and yet it results in something that is like barely watchable.
Get me my KDB. Oh, I do love KDB and David Silva. Their humanity still shines through. But the end of the game, 127th minute of stoppage time, that's what it felt like. Tackles flying in, decapitations all over the field, yellow card popping by Mike Dean, who seemed to just desperately ache to make the game all about him. Chaos is a ladder. He had his chance. Cue Raz with his now trademark fluky scuffed huge deflection finish. Oh, 9-1-1. City done a robbery. And then Mike Dean evened things up by sending him off, sent him off just for being Raz. And then it's probably Mike Dean who's arranging his rumoured transfer to Arsenal, an even worse indignity. But my heart did ache for Bournemouth. 0 points, brutal run of games in their next 7. Arsenal, Everton, Spurs, Chelsea away. But I'll say if they display the same kind of robust, slightly agricultural backline and intelligent pace up top, they're going to be able to fend off the darkness that is settling on the edge of town.
We're Raz's team now. I'm just waiting for it. Man United 2, Leicester City 0, Rog. Yet another impressive performance from Jose's men, unable to break down a well-organised Foxes side. United finally found a way through in the 70th minute via substitute, tickle me, baby Marcus Rashford. Marouane Fellaini, Rog, added insurance in the 82nd minute, and United stay perfect through 3 games, scoring 10 and conceding 0.
First real challenge of the season for Mourinho's horses that run free, plus Latan, that old horse that's been plucked back from the glue factory. United, a coiled muscle. And the first half, it was really a shooting gallery as they purred to rain down shots on a super-motivated Kasper Schmeichel, whilst Bailly and Jones admirably snuffed out the pesky counter-attack threat of feral pest Jaime Vardy. They struggled, United, to break Leicester's organisation down. It was 0-0 at half-time. Last season, Davo, that would have just ushered in an atmosphere of nerves, frustration, doom almost around Old Trafford. But this year, feels like there's an inevitability to United's dominance.
Yeah, no, exactly the word I was going to use, inevitability. And when they got that penalty and Lukaku steps up, you think, okay, we've seen this a million times before.
Everton reject.
Yeah. Karma, Rog, karma.
I take no pleasure in that, to be candid. But what is fascinating about this United team, 7 of the 10 Premier League goals they've scored this season have come right after substitutions. A testament in Mourinho's mind to his own mental beauty. I think it's probably more a testament to the competition for playing time and just a desperate desire to become a starter there. And so it was. Within 3 minutes of coming on, Rashford scored, left unmarked at a corner. Great finish by the kid, like a gunslinger. And then Sir Robert Strong, I still love Fellaini, can't hate him, wrapped up the points, netting 8 minutes after coming on. 2016-17 United, Dave, also won the first 3 games of the season, as the falsely modest Mourinho was at pains to point out. This does feel different though, right?
It does feel different. No goals conceded, playing some attractive football, key people contributing. I know they still got some problems. No right wing, which will suit most people in Manchester, Rog. But it's an impressive team. It's a team I enjoy watching. It's a team to defend very well. They look very, very strong at the back. Obviously, a fantastic goalkeeper as well. They've got everything. They got everything you need to go and win a Premier League title and compete on multiple fronts.
Who looks better right now to you, Manchester City or Manchester United?
Oh, United by a mile.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. I mean, it's a point you've made that I'm trying to understand it and what the ramifications of it. I say I like United defensively. That back four seems about as generous as Joel Osteen. But City's squad had so many weapons going forward. But what you said, Dave, I couldn't agree with more. Jose has his team playing with an idea, a philosophy. And what I don't understand is Pep, lauded as the reputed philosopher king of football, it just seems lacking at Manchester. What is City's best 11? It remains a complete mystery.
Yeah, they've got so many players who can go into that best 11. It's almost impossible to choose.
But they still seem perpetually vulnerable at the back, straight up the gut when faced with kind of Josh King speed. And we've got to wait until Champions League football begins and the big teams are fighting on two fronts before we truly gauge the mettle of their relative depth and intentions. But right now, I'll say if Chelsea are a predator, which I really do believe they are, and Liverpool are just a gorgeous gazelle, what animal are City? I kept trying to think that during the second half. What creature are we looking at here?
It's an exotic creature, something very rare, something very precious.
Oh, it just seems to me like a sperm whale that's made out of gold.
It's something in a zoo, without any doubt. It's not an animal in the wild. It's something animal definitely in a zoo.
It can't hurt you in the way it's meant to hurt you, and that is what I would be worrying about if I was a Manchester City fan.
Oh my God, great segue, Rog. Tottenham won, Burnley won. Spurs' Wembley woes continue. They can't hurt anyone there. After taking the lead through a 49th minute Delhi putback, Mauricio Pochettino's side capitulate at the last. By the way, after dominating play, allowing Bobby Wood's Kiwi cousin Chris to lash home an equaliser in the 92nd minute to keep Spurs from their first Wembley win of the season.
Second week in the run, Spurs solidly dominant, yet leave the game without 3 points. Here, a 91st minute, 33-second Chris Wood sucker punch. The truth again is Spurs controlled this game. August never scored. Harry Kane missed a slew of chances that he bagged any other month in the year against, I will say, an excellent Tom Heaton. But so much of the burden for Spurs drops on Kane and Delhi scoring, and there's just a precipitous drop-off to the likes of Sissoko. And there's panic amongst the Spurs faithful, worried about the prospect of Champions League maulings to come against Real Madrid and Dortmund. What a group. I mean, the Wembley hoodoo is now a thing. It was not before this game. It is now. But more than the curse of Wembley, to me, is this just the now traditional Spurs slow start to the season, David? Or is it something more?
Yeah, Harry Kane's inability to score in August. Look, my feeling about Tottenham going into this season and their performances over the last two seasons, I felt they had tremendous chances to win the league the last two seasons. And I think they were like a tennis player, an underdog tennis player, hitting out, going for winners, playing way beyond the red line, way beyond the fringe, going for winners from everywhere and landing a good number of them. And I think this year they're playing just a little bit more defensively. They're not going for quite as much because you can't continue to go for it the whole time. And they're just like, some of their knockout punches aren't really landing. And I think they're going to be very good this year, Tottenham. I think they're going to find a way to win at Wembley. I think Harry Kane will start scoring as he always does season after season. But they don't look elite level right now. They don't look across the park, across the board, as good as their competition.
I mean, I think Spurs fans who've watched the past couple of seasons know that Pochettino conditions his players to peak in late October, early November. He knows his pressing game is a grind and he needs to prepare his squad for the long march ahead. I've got no doubt that they will peak, but they do seem thin off the bench. I can't understand the transfer market dealings this off-season. Dan Levy, the chairman, he is addicted, dangerously addicted to last-minute business. And I feel for this squad, which cries out to be freshened. And the new blood's now going to arrive. I'll say arrive a little too late to have the full impact that is required. But wow, for Burnley, who've now faced last season's top two on the road and taken 4 points from those games, I bet they wish they could play in London every week. They've made the capital a new Fortress Turf Moor, David.
Yeah, those Burnley fans are having good nights out in London, without a doubt, Rog. Impressive performance by them. Talking of that, Newcastle 3, Rog. West Ham 0, another team from up north having a good day against a London side. The thatch roof that is Slaven Bilic's hair grows even thinner as the Hammers lose their third in a row. Goals from Joselu, Kieran Clark, and everyone's favourite sensible Serb, Alexander Mitrovic. He's at the sensible end. Earn the Toon its first 3 points of the season and leave Joe Hart longing for Northern Italy.
Oh, crazy Joe. This was a battle between two of the worst-run football clubs from a footballing perspective in the Premier League. Constipated Newcastle had lost their opening two games without scoring, facing crazy Joe Hart. It's the equivalent of a stool softener. 3 goals. He's now conceded 10 strikes in 270 minutes of Premier League football. Give the people what they want. Dark wings, dark words for Slavan Bilic, whose life expectancy as a Premier League manager, I'd say it's roughly that of your average Russian ambassador right now, David.
Huddersfield 0, Southampton 0. The Terriers had the better of the chances, but were lucky to escape with a point after defender Tommy Smith cleared a Ryan Bertrand header off the line in the dying embers. Both teams stay unbeaten through 3 games. If you had Huddersfield ahead of Manchester City 3/38 into the Premier League season, you're a winner, Rog.
My beautiful Terriers, the second newly promoted team ever in Premier League history to begin a campaign with 3 shutouts after 1998's Charlton. All I'll say, I'm raising my Guinness to David Wagner and saying, "To more visions!"
And let's hope you don't go the way of Charlton, Rog. Palace, my local club. Palace 0, Swansea 2. Goals from Chelsea loanee Tammy Abraham and a brother AU see the Swans scoop their first win of the season. Palace, meanwhile, a Loftus-Cheek less Palace, joined West Ham and Bournemouth as the only teams without a single point.
Not just a single point, Davo, but a single goal they have not achieved under Frank de Boer, whose job already rumoured to be under review after just 270 minutes of admittedly lifeless football. Rumblings from the board, which include 76ers owners Josh Harris and David Blitzer, suggest that they've been seriously unimpressed with de Boer's 62 days in charge. All I'll say is, trust the process. First round draft pick looks like it will be yours, all yours. Crystal Palace fans, Markel Fultz and Ben Simmons coming.
It doesn't work like that, Rog. Watford 0, Brighton and Hove Albion 0. The Seagulls tally their first ever Premier League point against still unbeaten Watford, who had Miguel Britos sent off for an absolutely shocking challenge, Rog.
Horrific.
West Brom 1, Stoke City 1. A goal for Jay Rodriguez in his home debut put the Baggies in front on 61 minutes. But 13 minutes from time, Peter Crouch, remember him, headed home a point-blank equaliser to split the spoils and leave TP frothing at the mouth, even more than usual.
Oh, the Tony Pulis Syed Berahino Memorial Derby, highlight of which, for me, was angry Stoke City fans chanting at Tony Pulis, their former manager, "Tony Pulis, your football is which, it's about as glasshouse stone throwing as me chanting, "Michael Davis, you're a ball bastard." But
Best ball person.
Peter Crouch, what did you do? Your stooping header put paid to the people's dream of a Tony Pulis perfect season. That perfect season would be a complete campaign of drab 1-0 wins in a game that no one watched and few will otherwise remember.
Okay, this week's Togger winner, looking as prescient as the Teutonic Care Bear himself for keeping the faith in Alberto Moreno. GFOP De Felgar started the Spanish left-back, on his way to 197 total points for the week. He wins a patch. There is still time to join the more than 15,000 GFOPs in our Togger League. There's a weekly prize. To sign up, just visit meninblazers.com.
I'm going to start Touma Hemed at Brighton up front in the next week. He's going to be my sleeper pick. He's going to break out, Davo. It's going to be a goal-scoring fest for the Seagulls.
On to MLS. Rivalry week wraps with a Giovinco-fueled 3-1 win for Toronto over Montreal, a 3-0 Cali Clasico victory for San Jose and LA, a 3-3 shootout between Dallas and Houston, and 1-1 draws for Seattle and Portland, and New York Red Bulls and NYCFC. Despite only earning a point, cause for David Villa and, quite frankly, MLS to celebrate this week.
Yeah, unbelievable this. Cannot say enough about the significance of the Spanish national team's decision to recall David Villa after 3 years away back into the national team squad for this week. To me, I mean, we've talked about David Villa week in, week out, the intensity, the commitment, the competitive drive that he brings to MLS. But that callback to the Spanish national team from MLS.
Yeah, the Spanish national team, Rog. It's not like this is a team that does not have options. It is the Spanish national team.
I mean, for David Villa, he is now, to me, in Roger Federer, Tom Brady, kind of pantheon of age-defying athletes. Huge feather in the cap for both NYCFC and MLS. Jack Harrison for England. US men's national team also returned to action, playing Costa Rica September 1st. Trust the truth that when they finally do play a World Cup qualifier in New York City, I'm going to be in Europe and you're in California and we'll both miss it. They then go to Honduras, to San Pedro Sula 4 days later. Not a huge amount of buzz about this US men's national team right now, even though they enter this round on a 14-game unbeaten run under Bruce Arena. There's an outside chance they can qualify over the course of these 2 games. More probable they'll take a big step towards locking up a slot in October. It's an experienced squad. They should do the business. Most magical possibility, Clint Dempsey's next goal will make him the all-time leading US male goal scorer. What an American that bloke is. Deserved owner of the one and only Camo Blazer O'Glory.
Yeah, Friday night's game, Rog, against Costa Rica, kicks off from Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. Let's just call it New York at 6:55 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. The rest of your international break / World Cup qualifying / Labor Day weekend looks like this. It starts Friday with a Golden Corral-style buffet of World Cup qualifiers. Oh, do they have that chocolate tower? Highlighted by Malta versus
tower.
England at 2:45 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN3. And Mexico versus Panama at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time on FS2. Then, on Saturday, the Portland Thorns host the Washington Spirit as we approach the business end of the NWSL season. That kicks off Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Lifetime.
No sleep till Moscow, Davo. No sleep till Moscow.
A unique territory. There are many other ways to connect to us. One is through our Amazon Emporium, which helps keep the show going. Anytime you go on Amazon for items big or small, just click off the Emporium page, and Men in Blazers gets a tiny percentage, allows us to cover the cost of creating the show. What are you putting in the Emporium this week, Roger? Let me guess, it's a book.
Oh, it's a bloody amazing book. The Unwomanly Face of War, an oral history of women in the Second World War by the remarkable Nobel Prize winner Svetlana Alexievich. 1 million women fought in the Red Army in the Second World War, not just as auxiliary support. They were snipers, they were sappers, they were pilots, they were frontline infantry. And this book, in which the author spends years collecting forgotten stories, most of which have been written out of the heroic, manly history telling, it's one of the most challenging books I've read this year. It lays bare the extent to which death is all pervasive, almost a way of life in 1930s, 40s Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. And the author, she's what I wish I was. She is a phenomenal listener. She says at the beginning, I write not about war, but about human beings at war. I write not about the history of war, but about the history of feelings. Oh, the book's a tough read, but it's a phenomenal one. And as Alexievich says, she builds temples out of our feelings, desires, disappointments, dreams, out of that which was, but might slip away. That's how I feel about football.
Rog, I want to talk to you and our listeners today about the Breville BGR 200 XL variable temperature panini grill. I know I put a lot of kitchen supplies, hardware supplies into the Amazon Emporium. I'm not sure I've ever felt more passionate about anything that I'm putting in the Emporium other than this beautiful, beautiful and highly functional and completely and utterly useful sandwich maker. The problem with making sandwiches, for family, for friends, is it kind of feels like you're making it up. If you say, okay, what should we all have for lunch? What should we do? I'll make sandwiches. It kind of feels like it's not a real meal. But not if you call it a panini, Rog. Not if you put open-faced sandwiches and you press down with that thing and they come out and it's like it's like exotic. It's so European, Rog. It's continental. This panini grill, a bargain at $129.75. I mean, it's beautiful. It's functional. It will make people like you more. I'm pretty sure that my entire family like me more because I purchased this from Amazon just before my entire family of Davi came to visit. The Breville BGR 200 XL variable temperature panini grill. Don't go for the imitations. Go straight top of the line. Get this one, Rog.
I've got to say, Davo, that is a real finger in the eye for all dedicated Vitamix believers when you say this is the greatest piece of kitchen equipment. That is high praise from you.
That's because I don't see the Vitamix as a piece of kitchen equipment, Rog. I see that as a life accessory. That's to do with health It's to do with life. It's to do with well-being.
It's a friend.
Panini Press is a piece of kitchen equipment, different categories, totally different categories. I'd like to thank the vice president at Vitamix, the GFOP, who wrote to us that he was listening to the pod and was blown away when I started extolling the virtues of the Vitamix on the pod.
Eric Bruder, Eric at GFOP. I think he even won a Raven once. And it turns out he's a deep mole within the Vitamix organisation, David.
It was not a paid endorsement. It was not a paid.
Hello to all GFOPs at Breville.
By the way, lucky people. They must have amazing sandwiches in their cafeteria.
They don't have any sandwiches. They have paninis, mate. Just paninis.
Yeah. Visit meninblazers.com to sign up for our newsletter, which we produce with our partner, Guinness. Follow us on Twitter at meninblazers, at Embassy Davies, at Rog Bennett. It's amazing, by the way, during the El Blazerico, toggling between at Rog Bennett and at Men in Blazers, with you having a slightly alternative perspective on doom and desperation watching that game.
Two personalities.
On Instagram, at Men in Blazers, at Embassy_Davies. On Facebook, Men in Blazers. You can always email us at meninblazers@gmail.com. You can always send your ravens to the crap part of Soho. Venderpunk Rog.
War Pig.
Who wants to sex Matumbo?
Visions.
Ball to win.
Take that, Gloria.
Well, ball to lose.
To see you, sucker.
Abrigado, rock on, mate.
Oh, Kung Fu Fight in America. Love you, Davo. Love you, Houston.
Love you, Rog. Happy birthday, Mum.
Happy birthday, Dad. Chocolate towers.